refuge, and all of a sudden, at a time when energy prices are rising, it comes at the damnedest time. What do you think?
Yeah, the governor has a right to be mad. And I think anyone in the private sector who deals with the government should be worried. I mean, these are not contracts that were entered into with Donald Trump or with the former Secretary of Interior. These were made with the federal government. And I don't know how this administration, because they don't like fossil fuels, thinks that they can cancel what were legally signed and are valid contracts. There's this nonsensical idea that we can get rid of fossil fuels and, quote unquote, go green. And I have nothing wrong with green technology or green energy. But when are we going to admit that green energy is made from fossil fuels? They are manufactured in plants that run on fossil fuels. They're shipped, transported, and installed using fossil fuels. So this silly idea that we can keep it in the ground and somehow transition to green energy is sophistry, and it's putting America's economy at risk. It's putting our national security at risk, and clearly it's going to cost lots of people their jobs and their livelihoods. So it's the children are running the government right now, Neil, and it's extremely frustrating.
And I don't know why you want to call them children, or why they can't be all in on everything. If you're partial to green energy, that's fine. But go knee deep into all of these technologies. And the fact is, it began with this president scrapping the Keystone pipeline. Then the goal, the order really to have a greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. Of course, rejoining the climate accord, but not putting any onus or burdens on China or India to participate anytime soon. Then relate financial risk to what is going on as far as environmental commitments on the part of businesses. On and on we go. I just wonder about the timing of it all.
Yeah, well, I think this administration is constantly going to be pushing the fossil fuel industry as hard as they can, because they have this green agenda. And look, one of the benefits of fossil fuels, besides the fact that they're efficient, besides the fact that we have them in great abundance in America, they are thoroughly American, right? No matter how hard you try to send them to China or Mexico, they're not going to be outsourced, but they are incredibly inexpensive. And that is a benefit for them. It's a benefit to anyone filling up their gas or heating or cooling their home, right? But if you have to compete with that in the green energy space, and the Biden administration wants green energy to compete, they have to beat up their competition. They have to artificially raise the price of fossil fuels, and they're doing that. And how do you do that? You cut out the supply. These fracking bans, the moratorium on federal land leases, this ANWR Keystone pipeline, these are all deliberate efforts to hurt the supply and drive up the price, hoping that maybe big oil will become so unpopular and people will hate it so much they will be forced to push towards the green energy space. The markets don't want green energy, Neil. Only government mandates allow this to thrive in society. They are unviable technologies, but they need to get rid of fossil fuels to work. And this is the Biden administration doing their bidding.
Well, one of the things that does concern me is, regardless of your views on fossil fuels or green energy or whatever, but one of the things that's very, very clear is these latest ransomware attacks, including one that hit the Colonial pipeline. The fact is, though, that our reliance on a grid that always seems compromised could be particularly damaging when you think about utilities that could be shut down, and all those electric vehicles powered up through utilities that would be shut down as well. Then I'm beginning to wonder where we're exposing ourselves in a world that's moving away from traditional gas-powered cars and leaving itself vulnerable to everything going kaput kind of at the same time.
Yeah, and our enemies are really ones going to benefit from this, right? Because as we make gas prices more expensive, oil prices more expensive, unfortunately, some of the other actors in the world with large oil reserves are not our best friends or not great actors. It's Russia, it's Venezuela, it's Iran, it's the Saudis, right? So these are the other countries where we will have to buy our oil from because we are getting rid of the supply. And in the meantime, these blue collar jobs, the Keystone Pipeline workers who I've brought on Fox News before to have America meet them, the folks who are going to the North Slope and ANWR, where I've spent time, and I spend a lot of time in the state. Joe Biden keeps talking about blue collar, Scranton Joe. But again, these are the people who are losing their jobs and their livelihood. And we used to say, well, just learn to code. That was considered hate speech when you said it about journalists. But we have no problem telling these blue collar workers who provide the very product that allows our economy to thrive, We have no problem them putting out of a job and saying, hey, buddy, sorry, that's not my problem anymore. It's horrifying what this administration does to rural blue-collar energy workers without even losing a night of sleep over it.
Daniel Turner, thank you very much. Power of the Future, founder and CEO. We're monitoring all of that. Also,